Welcome back to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Today we were treated to what looked like a boxing ring between the chief economic advisor to the UDA government, David Ndii, and one of the people who needs no introduction, Pauline Njoroge. It was about an argument over the economic situation under the UDA government. And as I do this video, David Ndii is actually trending at #1. And I want us to go very slowly. Now, it started when Pauline Njoroge was trying to air her sentiments about the recent reduction of petroleum prices by IPRA yesterday. Of course, you know that people had complained a lot that the reduction was not commensurate to the global prices. They felt that it was a mere hoodwinking and kind of gimmick. And this is what Pauline Njoroge said, that if in early June 2022, when crude oil was going for $122 per barrel, the pump price in Kenya was Kenya shillings 159 per liter of petrol. How much should the same cost right now when crude oil is going for $69 per barrel? That was a very genuine question. Of course, very many people have been asking the same. And she used a very simple mathematical formula that if $122 is equal to 159 Kenya shillings, now what about $69? That was very simple. And she went ahead and did the calculation and found out that it should be selling at 89.9. I think that was the answer. Now, after this calculation, it was a very genuine one, and you know that Pauline Njoroge has been a thorn in the flesh to the Ruto administration. Now, you know, one person who was not going to sit pretty and watch her deconstruct this government is the chief economic advisor, David Ndii. And this is what he said. By the way, I thought that he would delve into the calculations and explain why it was costing more instead of maybe this explanation. So he went ahead and said this. Bimbo. Okay, he said Bimbo wouldn't know while she was inspecting ceilings. Uhuru was blowing holes through national finances, propping up fake prosperity. 100 shillings plus fuel subsidies, $2.5 billion plus propping up shillings. Party over. At Ledama Lekina, wondering why current property prices are falling bad. I think that was a bit sarcastic, because when Pauline Njoroge did the calculation, I think it could only be met by, a counteractive calculation. And of course, underline the word bimbo, it was meant to achieve something. Then Pauline Njoroge went ahead, and this is what she said, that when weak men can't explain themselves or have a substantive response to an issue raised by a woman, they resort to sexual innuendos. It's an age-old trick to intimidate and shame women so as to shut them up. I have seen David Ndii argue with men. He has never introduced the bedroom matters, something of that kind. So Pauline Njoroge, if you ask me, reacted wisely, because this particular response from David Ndii was meant to infuriate and vex her. Now, one person who was watching all these things like a scavenger from the sky is Njoroge, one person who has turned from Ruto supporter to Uhuru apologist when he was working at State House, and then now again back to Ruto. Some people are saying that he was looking for a job. Kukaa kwa baridi, I think it's not very easy. So Njoroge said, my friend David Ndii, it is not polite to call Pauline Njoroge a bimbo. She is not clever enough to appreciate the depth of the insult. The thickness is that bad. You must apologize by midnight. So that was Njoroge. Now, what do you make from just what I've given you? Because I have painted a picture of what happened. I know there are people who are following. There are others who are getting it for the first time. What is your take on this? Because I want us to try and do this without being biased to any side. One thing that we must understand, and I must remind our brother David Ndii, is that he is the face of the economy in our country. When things go right, he takes the credit. When things fall apart, he takes the blame. He's being paid hugely with our money, and so he should not get vexed when someone delves into such serious questions. Number two, it is the role of the opposition, because I think they said that Raila had not accepted the role of the opposition. They urged him to accept that there is a government in place. And so when those who are supporting Raila come up and ask questions, it's only wise to answer those questions properly. Now, it is not only Pauline Njoroge who was asking how much the current prices should fall. It was a question on every person who cared. And the best way was to understand, one, how was it? What was the price during the Uhuru era? And the reason why people were comparing the prices during the former regime is because any time we have an economic challenge, then they go back to remind us, that the people are reminding us that it was Uhuru. Recently, one of the lawyers from Kisii was saying that very soon you will hear the Kenya Kwanza government saying that Uhuru took away the water, that is why we have blackout. Now, within just a few days, Rigathi Gachagua comes and tells us, supporting Murkomen, that the reason why we had rampant blackouts is because Uhuru bought fake generators. And that is the reason why anytime we have a problem, we would want to compare how it was during the Uhuru regime and how it is today. And how do you do it? You must lay facts, bear facts. And that's Pauline Njoroge was saying that during that period, a barrel of petrol was selling at how much was it? The barrel of petrol was selling at $122. And then he's now trying to compare that a barrel is going at $69. I mean, it is a genuine concern. And I understand that maybe Pauline is not an economist, but there are facts that you don't need a rocket science to understand. For example, knowing the prices during the Uhuru regime and the prices today, these are things that we can find in the economic journals, we know. Now, she did a simple calculation, and if she was wrong, then Ndii, who is an economist and maybe has got an upper hand in the calculations, should have come up to just explain mathematically why Pauline is wrong, without is trying to insert the name Bimbo. You know, when I read this, it reminds me of a day when Miguna Migina was had a discussion, and a heated one with the Nairobi woman rep, I mean, Esther Passaris, and he called him a socialite bimbo. And such things are meant to intimidate our ladies. I'm one person who is really, really protective of the ladies. They are our mothers and our sisters and our daughters and our spouses, and we live with them. So I would not want someone to try and intimidate our ladies. It's against the norms. Whether it only proves that maybe David is a male chauvinist. But number two, I come from a school of thought that when you see someone resorts to insults and innuendos, especially when he now invokes the some sexual innuendos, then this person cannot answer the question on the table. That is it. Because the answer from David Ndii is full of intimidation. When you call someone a bimbo, first when you read, you feel intimidated, and two, it's only meant to blame, the former regime. When they talk about subsidies, and I've had this discussion, we need to put it, to an end. When you tell us that subsidies never got to the right people, the question that begs is very simple. If you feel that subsidies were not bad, that the only problem with the subsidies was it didn't get to the right people, then why don't you reintroduce the subsidies, but ensure that you have got guidelines, mechanisms that will make it reach the right people? Kenyans are not dumb. We can see what is happening. And we all know for a fact that the reason why some of these subsidies, all of the subsidies were removed, is because IMF and World Bank do not want them. And so when a question comes on board, David Ndii must tell us the truth. And how I wish someone could come up with a counter narrative, a counter mathematical calculation, very open. Just tell us it was selling this and this, the reason why it was selling. Include all the subsidies and calculate for us without intimidation, without trying to insult people. We will never grow. The Kenya Kwanza team will not succeed if they still feel that the only way to escape is to call Uhuru's name. We are now about 16 months after elections, and we are still stuck up in the quagmire, this muddy place of blame game. While time is not waiting for us, we keep on looking back. When our airport is leaking, we want to apportion the blame to the former regime. It cannot work that way. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, I have heard this government says that they want to take us back where Kibaki left us. That ambition is not bad. But we know for a fact that when Kibaki inherited the economy in 2002, after the 24 rules of Moi, the situation was worse than it is today. Never once did you see, Kibaki blaming Uhuru. That was, I think it was the first time he blamed, and it was the last, was during the negotiation ceremony when he read his acceptance speech and said that we were inheriting a very bad economy, we should expect some difficult ones, but immediately he was sworn in, he decided to sit down and look at our economy with a fine-tooth comb. And I'm not saying that it was perfect, but he never talked. You see, you can, in this government, you will not be able to separate whether we have people like David Ndii, Kimani Chungwa, our deputy governor. You will not differentiate between the government and the opposition. They started campaigning to be in power 5 years before election. They got to power, immediately they were sworn in, they started campaigning, and they're campaigning for 2022. They continue perpetuating the promises and the lies, and the only thing that they don't realize is people have become of age. I don't know whether they listen to even the youths who voted for them, who go and retrieve their promises. Internet doesn't lie. And they compare to what they say today. Let us see. Today, I want us to mark this date. The president was saying that he has secured about 2,500 jobs. This time round, it is not for domestic workers. It is for the medics. I want to see whether this shall work this time round. The internet that was supposed to be placed in markets did not work. The diapers that were supposed to be given women for the first 3 months did not work. The Hustlers Fund, I don't know that it's working. Reduction of economy is not working. They promised they would not even raise, taxes. They raised it. They promised that they would not get more loans. They have gotten more loans compared to Uhuru in the first year. And so this regime is full of fallacy. Again, I want to say this. David should apologize for calling Pauline Njoroge a bimbo. I mean, the discussion was economic, pure explanation, pure mathematical, pure facts. I don't think bimbo is part and parcel of this explanation. And I know this is going to spark a lot of debate, because now the war has been taken to the social media. I know my friend Gabriel Oguda is watching, and maybe they've told, I want to check. People like Alai. I know the Kenya Kwanza team and the Azimio team are now going to fight it. I like the fact that when some bloggers lay facts on the table, others feel intimidated and they resort to insults. It cannot work this way, especially in Africa. Real men don't insult ladies. That is my take.